back to the Basement Gun Shop. Many of you may know, and the majority of you probably don't know, I'm also a licensed radio operator, or a ham radio operator. I've had a couple friends who have recently obtained their tech licenses for amateur radio. Kudos. So they have come to me on a number of occasions with questions about, radio gear and stuff like that. For an entry-level radio, not spending a lot of money, and I do mean not a lot of money, okay, I point them to these three little radios sitting right here in front of me. This is a Baofeng UV5R Plus HT radio. This is a Baofeng BF F8HP. And this is a Baofeng GT3 TP. So, 5 watts, 8 watts, and 8 watts transmit power. They will do 2 meter and 70 centimeter. They can also be programmed for FRS and GMRS channels, as well as ham radio frequencies and ham radio repeaters that are all over the country. There's thousands of them all over the country. So they also have a wealth of accessories available for them. For example, here's a little clip-on microphone, speaker and mic all in one. You plug it into the radio, you clip it on your belt, clip it on your shirt collar. Just click, push to talk, transmit, done deal. You can also buy a throat mic like this right here. This simply goes around your neck. The mic sits right here on your voice box. You've got a little acoustic earbud that comes up and over, goes in, and then you've got a little Velcro push to talk button that you can attach to your shirt just like that. Push it, transmit. If you want some privacy. Yesterday I worked a fireman's parade and convention for a local municipality with one of the local radio clubs. At all the roadblocks and stuff for the fireman's parade, they had fire police and they had a ham radio operator with them. We utilized one of the local repeaters. We had radio coverage throughout the entire town. It's pretty cool. Good day out. Rock on. But what I want to attack in this video is getting these radios programmed. They have two different modes. They have frequency mode and channel mode. Frequency mode is just that. You can punch in any frequency on the radio, key up, transmit, and go to town. Try and make your contacts, okay? Or a simple way to program them is with a piece of software called Chirp, C-H-I-R-P. It is a freeware program. They do update as so many new models of radio comes out. If the manufacturers change the firmware, they redo the software and they release it in what they call a daily build. There are stable releases, which basically they're the production releases. The daily builds are just that. It's updated when new versions of a radio come out. One thing you will need is this, and this is a programming cable for the Baofeng radios. If you're looking on Amazon, you will see a number of them that are like $5-6 a piece. Don't buy them. They have a pirated chip in them. Get the one that's like above 15 bucks. That's the honest to goodness Baofeng cable. So that's the one piece of advice. That's one piece of advice I will give you. Buy the more expensive cable, you get what you pay for. Price-wise, these radios are great. 30 bucks. And then the 8 watts were 55 and 65 respectively. You can also get, for example, this is not the antenna that came with these radios. They all come with this little rubber duck antenna. This is an aftermarket high gain antenna that I bought. If you're a licensed radio operator and you've studied, and even if you know a lot about radio communications, you know a good antenna makes all the difference in the world when you're trying to transmit and receive. So that's another decent piece of advice I can give you. Beyond that, get the honest to God Baofeng programming cable. So let's take a look at the Chirp software as it sits on my laptop right now, and we'll plug a radio in, we'll reprogram it, we'll get stuff off of it, and we'll go from there so you can see how to program your radio. This demonstration in this video, we're going to be using my Baofeng 8-watt radio. This is a BF F8HP radio, and I've got the programming cable plugged into the USB port here on the side of my laptop. And then we'll just turn the radio on.
Channel mode.
This is basically how it comes out of the box. I reset this to factory, so there's nothing programmed in the radio. Simply pop open this little door on the side here, and this plugs into where the microphone and the speaker plug in. And then you can go to radio, download from radio, and you're presented with three choices. Port or COM port. All it's showing me is COM port 4, so that's got to be where the cable's at. The vendor, Baofeng, which it's already set for that. But here you can see all the other models of radios that you can use with this software. Now the model number's wrong, so I need to set that to BF F8HP. Say OK. Pops up a little box that says cloning, and you just wait for that to finish. Done. That's all it's going to show because there's nothing in the radio. I reset it to factory default. You're presented in the Chirp software with a location for the memory right here, which right now it's showing channel 127 because that's how many memories you get with these radios. A frequency of 470.625 megahertz, a name for the channel, tone mode, tone squelch, DTCS, DTCS RX, DTCS PAL, cross mode, duplex, offset, mode, power, and skip. The only thing we're really worried about with a 5-watt handheld or an 8-watt, typically you buy these for hitting an amateur radio repeater. So we're going to look up a repeater real quick in my fancy schmancy ARRL repeater directory, and I know exactly which one I want to get to. It's going to be a 2-meter repeater in Schuylkill County. Whoops, one page too far. Schuylkill County, Delano, Pennsylvania. That's the repeater I want for W3SC, the Schuylkill Amateur Repeater Association's club. So, we're going to go to frequency, click on that, wipe that out, and it's 145.370. Hit enter. There. The frequency's programmed. Let's give it a name, W3SC, or you could put in there Sarah, or if you have your own naming convention, you can put that in there. This does list a tone of 123 hertz, a PL tone of 123 hertz. So for tone mode, we're going to set that to tone. We're going to go right here to tone and look in this big old drop down right here. Let me click off that for a second and expand that so you can see how big this gets. There we go. And we're going to find 123, select that. For duplex, it is a negative offset, so it's going to offset by 0.6 megahertz, and it is a negative, so you're going to put negative in there. And power, it's already on high. This mode, NFM, stands for narrow FM. You don't want that. You want it on just good old-fashioned FM. Narrow FM is something the FCC is trying to push business band radios into to save bandwidth, basically. So, there. We've got a repeater, a functional repeater, programmed in the Chirp software. Now let's look at settings under here. You have a squelch setting for the radio. Over here you have 3 tabs, memory settings and browser, over here on the left. So we're going to go into the settings. Display mode, we're going to change that to name. You can change the color that the display lights up when it's on standby or when it transmits or when it repeats. Advanced settings. Oh, wait a minute. Let's go back to, yeah, we're going to go into advanced settings. You can set it to be voice operated, where all you have to do is talk to your radio and it will turn on and transmit. Dual watch, we're going to enable that, so if both frequencies are activated, one will come through. Dual TX priority, we're not going to do dual transmit. You don't want to transmit on 2 channels at the same time or 2 frequencies at the same time. Everything else we're going to let go there. Other settings. Power on message. You've got a really cool way to personalize your radio here. You can change your power on message line 1 to Jim's radio. Power on message number 2, don't touch this. Now you're only given a certain number of characters, but we're just going to make that say Jim's radio. Easy enough. And then we're going to go back here to memories. So we've already downloaded from the radio, so we know we can communicate with the radio through this cable. We're going to go back to radio, upload to radio. It's still going to be COM4 Baofeng BF F8HP. Say OK. Your box pops up again for cloning. And then I'm going to try and hold this up so you can see it when it comes back on. Sometimes this takes a while. It depends on how many memories you're actually programming into the radio. When it's done, the radio reboots. And there you go. Channel 127. I hope you can see that channel. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Channel 127 is now
0.
W3SC. I'm going to turn it off.
Channel mode.
And there you go. Now you're ready to transmit. And that's it. Your radio is programmed. Now, the config that I keep on this radio normally, if you have a pre-written configuration file in Chirp, for example, I do, file open, new 8-watt radio is the config I keep on this most of the time. So you can see you've got dozens more channels. And instead of, if I want to add more channels to this, I would just go back to, I would go to this config file. I need to change this to W3SC. And I need to change this to tone. And I need to change this to 123. And I'm going to come over here, high power, FM, that's good. Radio, upload to radio, say OK, and we're going back into the cloning process again. The light blinks green. Oh, there we go. The light blinks green to tell you that the radio is communicating with the laptop. The radio reboots, comes back up, done. You have programmed your Baofeng radio. So, that's it. When you're using the Chirp software, it's really that easy to program almost any radio out there that's software defined. So, This is a software-defined radio. There are radios out there that are not software-defined, but they're much older models. The Chirp software works for, let me see, let me give you a listing. It works for Alinco, Anytone, Baofeng, Bajie, Baojie, ICOM, Intec, Jetstream, KYD, Kenwood, Leixen, Leixen. It works for Polmar, Powerworks, Puxon, Sane Sonic, TYT, Vertex Standard, Waxon, and Yaesu radios. So those are all the model numbers, or not models, but manufacturers that the Chirp software will work with to program. One thing I will caution you about is Chirp is freeware. There's nothing malicious about it, nothing, that I could find malicious. It's been used for a very long time by hundreds of thousands of amateur radio operators, maybe even more, to program their radios. But it is freeware, so that means basically someone is doing this out of the goodness of their heart when they have spare time. So you have to understand that you may buy a radio and it may not work with Chirp. For example, while the Baofeng radios are listed, it does not list any of the GT series. So none of the programming software I have will work with this radio. Now, the latest daily build says it will support this radio under the same firmware as this radio, but I cannot get this radio to talk to the software no matter what I do. All the others I have, boom, right through. This one, I don't. And I think that's just a function of you get what you pay for with these radios because they're that inexpensive. And I use the word inexpensive instead of cheap. Two other accessories you will probably want to get for your Baofeng radios. A good dual band magnetic mount antenna for your car. Works just like your average CB radio. Drop it on the roof, you run it in through the window, and you screw it on in place of the antenna for your radio. Now, this has a PL259 connector. You're also going to need the adapter for it. So basically, the adapter screws in like that. I can never get these little rubber covers off of here. They're such a pain. There you go. The adapter screws in like that to the cable, and then of course the smaller end screws into the radio like that, and now you have a much better signal attenuation for when you're in the car. Getting your antenna outside the car will greatly enhance the function of these little radios. Basically, a car is a rolling Faraday cage. It's going to shield you from external emissions and external signals. It's going to do the same if your antenna is inside the car. In point of fact, with these radios, I've had someone driving down the road 3 car lengths in front of me. With this radio, this antenna, they could hear me fine, but they were all kinds of noisy. So you're gonna want a decent Magman antenna. I understand that adds to the price, but this is a tram, dual band, single coil antenna. This was about $22 on Amazon Prime, and I can tell you from experience, this antenna is fantastic. In fact, I was running this on my big 50-watt mobile rig and it was working just fine, but I replaced it with a quad band antenna because this is only a dual band antenna. So there you have it, radio communications. Well, actually, programming a little handheld radio using the Chirp software. Boys and girls, it's that simple. So, as always, if you have any questions, I encourage you, leave them below in the comments section and I will get back to you on these. As always, if you like the channel, like it, subscribe, even better. And until next time, stay safe and keep